In order to test the mental patient, the doctor pointed his finger at the patient's head like a pistol. With such agile skills, it is difficult to connect him with the mental patient. In fact, the man used to be a ruthless professional killer named Along. He was proficient in various killing techniques. Humans show no mercy when it comes to killing weapons. Others use scythes to cut wheat, but he uses scythes to cut heads. To him, killing people is like cutting the strings of a puppet. There is no difficulty at all. However, during a mission, he suddenly discovered that the killer organization he belonged to wanted to kill a group of people. The moment a child was trained to become a killing machine, he immediately decided to betray the organization and rescued the youngest girl in the organization, Xingzi. From then on, Along retired and worked as a harvester in a convenience store. Even when gangsters came to rob him, he acted like an honest man. Silently handing over the banknotes like everyone else, he then paid for the medicine bag to cover the loss. But the peaceful life did not last long. On this day, he brought Kyoko with him. When he went out for a walk, he suddenly noticed a dangerous smell. He went home first and immediately became alert. He was trying to find the source of the danger in Mongolia. His years of experience as a killer gave him extraordinary intuition. He instantly locked onto the killer in the crowd. One of them was the suit opposite him. The other man had already reached behind him, but in Along's eyes, these two second-rate killers were not enough. He quickly turned around, grabbed the gun, and easily broke the attacker's neck. The other killer immediately opened fire, but unexpectedly, Along was able to dodge bullets with his incredible skill. Along had already hurriedly arrived in front of him. A seemingly insignificant movement took away a person's life in an instant. Afterwards, Along hurried home and found Kyoko to confirm that he was okay. He was relieved, but he looked at the hand in his hand that he had not seen for a long time. He knew that a war could no longer be avoided. Once the killer organization started hunting, it would not stop. Along had no choice but to come and eat often. After leaving his temper to the familiar boss of the restaurant, he left his seat and shot a dart at the target. Everyone laughed at Along for being such a bad guy, but they didn't know that the fork that fell on the ground at this moment had been twisted into a ball because of the too much force. Along moved his body. When he walked into an alley, a passerby suddenly stabbed him. Unfortunately, Tai Kai was killed by Along. The woman eating melon on the side was also a killer. She was also sent away to the west by Along as soon as she stretched out her dagger. It turned out that everyone on this road was a killer in disguise. Even the uncle who called had a knife hidden in his hand. Unfortunately, these tricks had been seen through by Along a long time ago. All the killers lost their lives in vain. After returning to the convenience store, Along put the lunchbox that no one wanted in the microwave. He was fighting and getting hungry, but then another killer came in from outside. Along pretended not to see him and calmly hid behind the shelves to observe the situation with a reflector, then quickly killed them from the corner while they were not paying attention. He started to show off his skills, and all the killers were easily prepared by him. Along was about to start eating. Suddenly, the chopsticks were washed. He started to show off his rice with blood-stained chopsticks without hesitation. However, the hunting had just begun late at night. In the elevator, a beautiful woman was teased by two gangsters. However, the beauty was not angry and took the initiative to reach out to the gangsters. It turned out that this very hot beauty was also a top killer. Her target was also Along, who had eaten and drank well. He went to the phone booth to call Kyoko and asked her not to run around recently. But before the call was finished, the female killer was already behind her. She took off her shoes and quietly approached and opened the door. Unfortunately, she was blocked by the alert Lang, and this mistake would never happen again. Without a chance to attack, he was overpowered by Along with a backhand. Xingzi on the other side of the phone heard her uneasy voice asking about the situation. Along directly wrapped the phone cord around the female killer's neck and had sex with her. But early the next morning, the restaurant owner called anxiously and said that Xingzi was missing. However, Along didn't panic at all. He knew it was the killer organization that did it, but Along had already been there. Kyoko put a tracker on her body. In doing so, the killer organization exposed the location of the base camp. Soon after, Along took two friends to a densely forested suburb. The enemy's base was on the highest hillside, and the Bijiang River leading to the base was hundreds of special forces were ambushed on the road. But Along calmly walked towards the enemy's position without any panic and started his own hunting feast. The two friends were also ruthless, and the braided brother quietly came behind the enemy and grabbed the younger brother who rolled to the side. He immediately grabbed the knife and the enemy noticed it. If you don't look around nervously and turn your head, you will be instantly knocked down.
Aaron
picked up his pistol, the arrogant general. After a gunshot in the sky, all the enemies knew his position. After the enemy entered the range of his fist, Along slowly walked out from between the two trees. The enemy reacted, but it was already too late. In order not to accidentally injure his teammates, he switched to Den. The magic weapon didn't know that this decision would only make them die faster. In front of Along, these people were like paper tigers. They couldn't even touch a hair of his and were knocked to the ground, one after another. Another team with tattoos came over, but Along was in the forest. The shuttle was like a ghost and quickly eliminated one enemy after another. The two teammates also cooperated perfectly to kill several enemies one after another. Seeing this situation, the enemy had no choice but to use their final trump card. Soon, Japan's once-in-a-millennium sniper aimed at the besieged Ah. Lanka and Along moved in a coquettish manner and once again performed the miracle of dodging bullets. Every time a bullet was about to pass through his head, he could always shake himself behind a tree instantly. Along quickly came to the sniper. The batter's position was substituted by a dummy concealed beneath the straw mat, as two lurking guards swiftly launched an assault upon him. Along, perceptive to their deceitful tactics, overpowered them in a matter of rounds. The female assassin was apprehended with a knife, while the male assailant attempted to employ a firearm but met his demise by Along's blade. Subsequently, another child, also bearing the mark of a killer, materialized and initiated an attack on Along. Yet Along declined to retaliate. The child's attempts to inflict harm upon Along proved futile, as he was repeatedly knocked down. Consumed by rage, the child unveiled an explosive device attached to his chest, however. Along remained composed and unaffected by the imminent danger. No matter how hard I pressed the button with a knife, the bomb had no reaction. It turned out that the firefly line that exploded had been cut off instantly. After punching the child and knocking him out, the enemy was still coming in a steady stream. In the end, the enemies continued to come.
No matter how hard he pressed the button,
Along took out a sickle, which was an ordinary farm tool. At this moment, it turned out to be a life-threatening weapon. Dozens of enemies were killed while mowing the grass. The enemy hooked by the sickle unfortunately became him. The enemy's human shields were soon outnumbered. However, this efficiency was still too low. Along took out his natural weapon, the claw knife, and then used the unique fighter plane of Kailong Halberd to rush into the crowd. After a long fight, the organization's front line had been completely torn apart. Along sneaked into the base, cut off the power supply, and fought all the way to the place where Xingzi was imprisoned. In order for Xingzi to retreat safely, he left Xingzi in the care of his friends and decided to face the thousands of troops alone. At this moment, a mysterious man suddenly joined the battle and began to help Along clean up the mess. Soldiers. Immediately he recognized that the other party was his old partner Jing Yang, who had been with him through life and death. Jiang Ge was even more cruel and cold-blooded than Along. After learning that Along had betrayed the killer group, he vowed to take Along's life, and he must personally pick up the miscellaneous soldiers and clear them out. The two started fighting directly. They came from the same school. They had exactly the same moves. No one could do anything about them. They used the same dragon attack and the same catching moves, which couldn't be broken at all. Finally, their partners found a perfect opportunity to hold Along from behind, but Along was already prepared. Instead of letting their partner succeed, they all took off their weapons and started to compete with each other to teach kung fu. Suddenly, their partner not only used a flashlight to plot against him, but also hid a knife in his cuffs. It was about to decide the winner. Along once again proved that the protagonist is the protagonist. A slap in the face. He slapped his partner, followed by a few punches, shattered his spine, and ended his life. Just as Along relaxed and took out the phone. At that time, the boss of the organization finally took action personally. As the oldest self-reliant killer in the organization, the boss had a special skill that could hypnotize others. As he began to hypnotize Along, his eyes gradually became blurred. The knife in his hand was involuntarily put down. The boss raised the dagger and stabbed slowly. Along's throat was cut when the boss woke up, but Along's neck was also scratched by the boss. He took a step forward and suddenly spurted out a stream of blood. He fell to the ground in exhaustion and became silent. In the blink of an eye, a few days passed. My friend took Xingzi to the beach. Xingzi did not feel sad because of Along's disappearance. Instead, he jumped on the beach. He could feel that Along was not dead. Sure enough, a man standing far away lit a cigarette leisurely, as if from the edge of hell, the ghost coming at this moment. Rebirth was released on a pure action film that pursues visual experience and sensory stimulation, can even be called a fantasy film. This film is undoubtedly qualified. The male protagonist is so fast that he can even dodge bullets. It is simply not the same as Quicksilver in Marvel, if you don't care about the absurdity. Plot. Congratulations, you can enjoy this feast of massacre. That's it for today's movie. See you next time.